This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, with the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
Do I look the part for the season ender for the 2016-2017 Sports 225 season? Indeed, I do. And it's like we're putting the band back together because the curator of the Buddy the Wonder Bichon Facebook page is here with me, otherwise known as Ron Higgins, the sports writer for NOLA.com. Nils Breckoff out of the bullpen directing the show here at Cox 4 Studios. And it's a beautiful time of spring, isn't it? It is. We've been just super lucky lately.
The weather's been outstanding. I mean, just LSU baseball games have been, just as far as the weather is concerned, a pleasure to watch. I mean, it was great weather. I mean, it's a good time to be outside. Even Buddy the Wonder Bichon was telling me the other day, hey, you know, this is a great weather to find a fire hydrant and just, you know, be yourself.
I got to cover the NCAA beach volleyball championships in Gulf Shores this past week.
Tough assignment. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's hard.
and the wind blew. Now it's pretty scary sometimes when you see a volleyball just go like that, you know, or they hit it over and it goes and sort of comes back. There were a couple instances where it really was that bad. But Chamber of Commerce weather for Gulf Shores.
And you know, it never hurts to have the Floribama as your media headquarters. Here's the press room, Mr. Feinswag. It's the bar.
To their credit, the NCAA puts up a great tent, and we had working Wi-Fi. It was good this year.
That's all you can ask for, working Wi-Fi.
But it is. I mean, springtime here. You know, you can think whatever you want about climate change and about global warming. Okay. But I have my own theory, at least where we live, and that is that the calendar's turned. It used to be that by this time of year, mid-May, it was just hot. Well, now, usually that doesn't happen until into June. And it used to be also that around October 1st, you'd start to get a little break in the weather.
Yeah, it goes a little deeper.
Now, you're pushing November 1st. Yeah. And so I think that everything's turned. The back end of it bothers me more because come around, you know, August 15th, I've had enough of the 90s,
yeah.
You know.
Before you know it, Santa Claus is going to be in a sauna. You know, I mean, it's going that way. But you're right, it has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you cover football, college football, you notice those things in press boxes, in how hot you are later in the year. You know, like, which is sometimes not bad. Now, if you're in a different part of the country, like when I used to work in Memphis, when it got into like late October or November, some of those games, Tennessee and Arkansas, got a little nippy, kind of, you know, for at least for somebody from Louisiana like me, you know, that's like LSU plays with Tennessee this football season in November. That should be interesting what the weather will be about then, because it usually gets pretty cold.
Coldest I've ever been covering a sporting event was an LSU at Alabama football game. I want to say somewhere in the late 90s, and so it had to be October too, and it was just awful. And you talk about covering football, gosh, back in the day when in the mid 80s when I was a SWAC beat writer, and this might shock you, but there were a couple of SWAC press boxes that didn't have the best air conditioning.
No.
They were a little wrong. No, it's true. It's true. And that would be brutal. That was just brutal.
They didn't provide you with like fans or anything? Just, you know, like a little handheld fan. Yeah.
There were guys who brought them.
You were just hoping to get accurate stats. That's all.
So anyway, just to touch on the beach volleyball thing, and by the way, volleyballmag.com, that's my other venture. Go check it out and follow us at VB Magazine on Twitter. But Brett Favre was at this because not only was it the 8-team NCAA Beach Championships, which LSU was there and tied for 5th, but they had this gigantic juniors tournament. And so you know where the hangout is by chance, right on Gulf Shores, and you walk out, and that's where the NCAA had everything set up. And then off to the side was tons of beach volleyball courts for this youth event. Well, Brett Favre's daughter's going to Southern Miss, and she's going to be a freshman volleyball player there.
I thought he had like may have had a Copperfit booth or something, you know, to It's all copper fit to the NCAA volleyball.
Well, somebody asked me yesterday, was he wearing Wrangler jeans?
There you go.
I was like, I didn't walk around the back and check out his butt and see what the brand was.
He'd be wearing Wrangler cutoffs with a copper fit on his knee. He's multi-purpose.
He is.
He really is. And then there's a life insurance in there also somewhere. So he's a farmer's insurance. He's all over it. Yeah.
Well, throw out a couple more volleyball plugs. So Melanie Miller, who's a senior at St. Joseph's Academy, is also going to play volleyball at Southern Miss. And she and Favre's daughter are going to room together. And that'll be interesting. And, of course, my partner in volleyballmag.com, Ed Chan, lives in San Diego and watches the show on CST. So, hi, Ed. Hi, Julie. How about that, huh?
Hi from the coast. Hey, here we are down south, just chilling.
What you doing these days?
Oh, it's LSU baseball is coming down the stretch here and kind of getting its act together a little bit. I mean, the SEC race is absolutely insane. It's like, 7 teams in first or second place, very tight race. Season's been kind of all over the place for LSU, but here they're at the end and they got a chance. That's all you can ask for. And that and spring football's in the books. SEC spring meetings in Destin coming up at the end of May.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So let's take a break. We'll come back and talk SEC and SEC meetings because that's where they give away a lot of money.
Yeah, they usually try.
Yeah.
They give you a hint what's going on.
We don't pay our guests, but we go to lunch. He's Ron Higgins. He writes for NOLA.com. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. You're not a number here at ITI. You're known by name. The staff and the instructors work diligently for your success because your success is our success. ITI is family owned and part of this community. Our 10-acre campus has been here for over 40 years. Let us evaluate your credits to determine if they'll transfer here. ITI is accredited by the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges. ITI Technical College. Begin your journey for a better life.
We're back on Sports 225, the season ender. It's been an interesting year here at Sports 225. Regular rotation of media guests, and one of our guys, David Ching from ESPN.com, was among the 100-plus who got whacked. What do you make out of all the stuff at ESPN? And it has to make you sad to some degree.
It makes me sad because they lost their way of what they do really well. ESPN's basically unwatchable now. To the point where I only think I turn on to watch games. I don't watch any other shows because it's just awful to watch. And subsequently, people got turned off by them. They started losing some subscribers, and then that filters down, and then they started getting rid of really talented people on the editorial side, like David Ching, who covered LSU, Brett McMurphy, who called their lead college football writer, who broke every story they had, got rid of him. And then you go to the talent side on TV, and you get rid of Ed Werder.
Well, the one that stunned me the most, because how much I love college basketball, and counted on Andy Katz.
And Andy Katz.
Andy Katz was the most connected, best guy.
2 years ago, he was picking brackets with President Obama.
Yeah.
Now he's unemployed. So I feel sorry for those people because they work for a place that lost their way. And like I said, it's hard to watch anything on ESPN now. I do watch. If there's an event, I'll watch the event, but I'll turn it on right when the event starts. I won't sit there and watch, the 80,000 minutes of pregame hype. And the Sports Center now is unwatchable, except for Scott Van Pelt late at night.
It's funny because you and I have not talked about this, but if you've watched the show before, I've used those exact same words that you said, basically unwatchable.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of yapping and it's opinions from people who look like they're 15 years old. And they think they have opinions now. They work for ESPN, and they haven't been in business long enough to have opinions. And they're trying to convince you that they have opinions that are valid, and you don't believe them.
But the way they convince you is just be louder.
Be louder, yeah. And that's how you get on TV now. Be loud as possible. If you're screaming A. Smith, just scream as loud as you can at each other. Just screaming back and forth. Doesn't matter if Skip Bayless goes to another network, plug in another guy so you can scream at him. They can scream back and forth. And that's what it's come to now, and it's awful to watch. And the SEC network, some of it's watchable, some of it you want to skip, but there's some really good stuff on there. Anytime that Marcus Spears is on there, He's a former LSU player, football player. He's really good. Tebow is really good on there. Tebow is really. I mean,
He just signed an extension.
yeah, he just signed an extension. He does ESPN when he's not chasing baseball or whatever he's doing, and he's really good on there. And they've talent-wise, they've picked some really good people for the SEC network. My only complaint is that in basketball on the men's side, they have all players and no former coaches. It's all, you look at their men's side of SEC basketball in the SEC network, they've picked all their analysts in studio are former players, but there's no former coaches in there, none. And there's plenty out there, like John Brady's out there, he'd be really good for it. Bruce Pearl was working for ESPN until he went back into coaching. But you look at all the SEC network's men's basketball analysts. It's funny because on the women's side, SEC network basketball, it's all former coaches. And in men's side, it's all players. So I don't quite understand the dynamic there. I mean, who was available for what salary? But there's some former coaches out there. It'd be good to give a coaching perspective. But they went the other way.
They lost me in a big way a couple of years ago. And Seth Greenberg, the former Virginia Tech coach, who's not bad in studio, there was a commentary about fans storming a court. And he was all for it and thought it was great. And he's obviously never covered a game where he's gotten trampled or been in a dangerous situation.
No, I mean, I guess he did.
That was a big. You're out of here.
I guess he didn't know why the SEC put their rule in years ago when a young student in Georgia got trampled at Sanford Stadium from people rushing the field, and that's why the SEC put their rule in of no crowd storming the field will fine you. I'm not a big advocate of people storming it because. And not being selfish from a media standpoint where you're covering your computer so someone get crushed. But if you're a little 5'2" female college student, about 110 pounds, and you get caught in a crowd, you're going to get knocked down and you're going to get trampled. And that's why I understand why. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
a 6'2", 235-pound sports writer sitting courtside at a basketball game and you get run over, you're going to get trampled. And that's happened to me.
I covered a Florida State football game one year when the year that Danny Ruffle, their senior year, he lost in Florida State, and then Florida came back in Sugar Bowl and beat them from national. But they're playing in Tallahassee, and I go down the field in the game. And
I'm having a bad segment here, Ron. Two coughs and two big sneezes. So I'm going to try to dial in here.
I'm going down. I'm in the game. I'm going down there, and I'm standing by the goalpost. And the game's over, and I swear, I thought 3/4 of the stadium emptied out from behind me. I'm like, holy moly. That was the game where I came back. I think I told you before, that was the game where I came back out when it was all over and to go to the other dressing room, and every piece of grass that was on the field that was colored was ripped up and gone. People had taken it. And the only thing that was left as I passed the 50-yard line was a pair of panties. And I thought, this is interesting. I just stopped and looked at it. This is really interesting. I just started, okay, yeah. And the guys kept walking. Sports writers just look at something, and people would be aghast. Sports writers kind of look at it and go, okay, you just keep walking. But yeah, I'm with you on the crowd stuff. It's really dangerous, especially in basketball. Football, you do have a little more room, but there's still more people. Basketball, it's pretty contained, and you can really get hurt.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been in two very dangerous situations, in my opinion. One was a Southern basketball game at Jackson State. This is a long, long time ago, and then it's hard to believe it's so long ago that famous LSU-Florida upset at Tiger Stadium, I want to say 1997.
I got a story for that.
Yeah, and I was, well, let's tell those stories when we get back, because I remember I alluded to something going into the segment, never got there, and since all I did this segment was cough and sneeze, and I apologize for that. So hold that thought. Let's go.
That's a Lee Feinswag springtime allergy segment. Thanks for joining us. Sponsored by...
Stop it. We'll be back. Goodbye.
Don't let the bed bugs bite you. We'll put them to sleep.
Bed bugs can be transported from most anywhere. Hotels, department stores, even a friend's house.
We've got the bead on bed bugs. Call the bug man today.
Call 923-BUGS.
We're back at the Sneeze-a-thon known as Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag. Ron Higgins of NOLA.com is here with me. And who knows whatever we were going to talk about, but we started talking about, fans on. See, I got this thing. I want to see that at football games, at the end of a game, there's ropes that get drawn across the 30-yard lines on each side. So for that section inside, that's where the coaches and the players go. Mm-hmm. No photographers. Get those goofballs out of there, the scrum that happens. So nobody goes inside there. And you encourage the fans to go on the field. Instead of stopping them, everybody's invited to come down, walk down, take pictures. Please don't pull up the grass. Stay off the goalposts. Yeah. Everybody just come down. That way you don't have to rush. Nobody gets hurt. It's all good. Just be happy. But nobody go between the 30s.
Yeah.
That's my idea.
That's a great idea, but
it'll never happen.
There's alcohol involved.
Well, that's good.
Lack of judgment.
But we were back to those the 97 LSU upset of Florida.
Yeah.
So I saw it was going to happen, because we're already down there. And I went over by a whole bunch of East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's deputies. They were standing on about the 15 on the south side. And we're standing there, and all hell's breaking loose. And I'm thinking, I'm good here. I'm with the guys with the guns. And all of a sudden, it was like a bomb went off on our feet, and we all jumped, and somebody had knocked over the goalpost, and it had come out. And it wasn't that far from us. And when that thing hit the ground, it was like, kaboom, and the ground shook, and I was like, I don't like this at all.
Okay, here's my story.
All right.
About 8 or 9 minutes left in the game.
That game?
Yeah, that game. John Simak, I think, ran the stadium.
Sure.
Went to the athletic director's booth, saw Joe Dean, said, Mr. Dean, I just want to let you know we could have a problem. He goes, what's that? He goes, they're probably going to tear the goalpost down. I want them to tear them down. Tear them down. I want them to tear the goalpost down. We beat Florida. Tear the damn things down. And they did.
Right.
So there you go. Almost hit you, but they did. But as years have gone on, they have goalposts now that they can fold up immediately when the game's over. They fold. Or a lot of stadiums now are being designed and they're redesigned, especially Ole Miss. If you notice that Ole Miss used to be able to basically just walk out in the field. Now they have high walls, like 8 or 9 foot walls around the field. Where it makes it, you've really got a nice little jump to get to the field. So a lot of SEC,
so you'll break your ankle by the time you get down there and you can't run.
Yeah, a lot of SEC, yes, exactly. A lot of stadiums are designing stuff to where it's like, where it's tough to get down there. Now some stadiums are not. I mean,
right.
I mean,
Florida's would be tough, I would think, because it's got that big wall.
Yeah, Florida's tough. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's some easier than others. I mean, LSU is very accessible.
Just easy.
It's accessible in the off season.
That's amazing, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, just get in there and tear up the field.
I mean, a bunch of people. It had a string of. You might hadn't followed this. LSU's had a string of people breaking Tiger Stadium in off season just to wander around or whatever they want to do.
You would think that there'd be a 24-hour guard with a machine gun in there.
Yeah, and I saw recently, this is true, the LSU's advertising for an assistant groundskeeper. I'm just wondering if that involves being able to handle small weapons. or, that 24-hour gun tower duty in the south end zone. But yeah, it's amazing why. And, maybe they should have tours of Tiger Stadium. Maybe they should do it on a weekly basis or whatever, But there's always.
This is why I have this guy on, because he's as crazy as I am.
And you see this all over the place. There are people, not just at LSU, but all over the college football, SEC, that they've requested that their ashes be sprinkled in the stadium.
Right.
And so some people, I guess, kind of, either want to break in and do that or do that. I've told my wife, if she outlives me, that I want her to give my ashes to all my sports writing friends, so they can sprinkle me in a little bit of every press box in the SEC, because that's where I spent most of my Saturdays of my life happy. So, yeah, but yeah, so you have people do it, and a lot of places are like, no, we don't want that to happen. But how are you going to stop that? Somebody sneaking somebody's ashes and sprinkling them on the empty liquor bottles in the south end zone. You can't stop that. That's what SEC football is all about.
Ashes to ashes, funk to funky.
Yeah, tradition,
I didn't sneeze or cough once the whole segment.
I'm proud of you, Sniffles.
I'm going to take this last break of the season right now. He's Ron Higgins. You can read his stuff at NOLA.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Ron Hig. That's with 2 G's.
Supposedly.
And
as I get older, I lose one.
Follow me at Lee Feinswag, or go to at VB Magazine for my other venture, and we will be right back.
See that dog lover? About to unleash the terror hound on these friendly, unsuspecting canines? Well, I'm the human dislike button, and I see it too. Easy there, Cujo. Taking part in a dog socialization program at a shelter or pet store can help nip this problem in the bud. And no matter how well socialized your pet is, cleaning up the little rays of sunshine they leave in their merry wake is your responsibility. To learn more about me, go to breck.org/HDB.
All right, we're not only coming down the home stretch of this show, but also the season. So,
Wow, we're going to call the stretcher now?
yeah, that's it. That's right. There you go.
Bring it in.
First off, you always can go to sports225.com to watch all the shows from the year. They're all there at archived at Sports225 TV. You can also get the show listings for our Cox 4 airings and our CST airings. And like I said earlier, my partner Ed watched us in San Diego last week. Scary thought. Thanks to Eric Coleman, who is the big guy here at Cox 4 for all he does and all that they do at Cox 4. Mentioned Nils earlier, Nils Breckoff. John Williams in studio as well from JCW. And none of this would happen without the support of everybody. And there you go. And there's Ron Higgins, who's probably been on the show more than anybody this.
That's right. I'm like the Don Rickles to Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
I just walk in and show up. Hey, Ron Higgins is here.
And I was sad that Don Rickles died.
That's very sad. He was tremendous. It was tremendous.
So we did mention the SEC meetings. Give me 30 seconds on that, because that's always a great event to cover, and they hand out unbelievable amounts of money.
Yeah, they kind of do a little bit different now. Now they wait to handle the shit. They don't give you the figure, and they wait till the end of the year to give you like the full total. But still, it's interesting. It's interesting, especially the Tuesday night cocktail party where you see all these coaches come together, and and their wives, and they're very civil. And that's why you see a part of the league that nobody else sees. Like, people always assume that Steve Spurrier and Philip Fulmer didn't get along, and actually they really were pretty decent friends. And they respected each other. The wives got along. Spurrier would gig everybody, and Philip understood that. But it's always a interesting dynamic, and then they go. They always have issues going on, discussing something. I was going back real quick. Monday, which was yesterday, finally, the Conference Commissioners Association rubber stamped an early signing period in football. Finally, it's done. It's in the books. Starts in December. I went back and looked at all the SEC meetings. This was started to be discussed in 2006. And you could see in 2006, the SEC coaches didn't want it. In 2007, they all wanted it. And then they didn't want it. But it shows you through the years, all these stuff is discussed. It's a great meeting. I mean, you get a lot out of it, and it's fun to go to.
Well, I'm lucky because I get a lot out of Ron Higgins when you come on the show. Thank you. You know how much I appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here.
Have a great summer. Get some downtime. SEC football media days are just around the corner. And we will see Ron and you back here in August. And thank you for watching. This has been not only the Sports 225, but the Sports 225 2016-2017 season.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky. This Spanish Town Mardi Gras, may it never die.